For video 2, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look at how we piece numbers together and how numbers kind of go together, and then how do we write the number. So let's say we have 5 hanging out here, and we have 0.3, and we have 0.04. Now let's put these in little boxes here. So we have 5, let's switch here to pointer, 5, 3/10, and 4/100. And now if I take those and I just add them together, I'm going to have 5.34, or 5 and, because that's where that decimal point is, that's and 34/100, because we're in the hundredths column. Now, one of the mistakes that sometimes people make when they first start is they'll say 5 and 3/10, 4/100. No, what we do is we just read the number that like we normally would, 34, and then whatever column the last number is what we say after it. Now, if I were to type that, and let's make our font a little bit bigger here because we made it smaller there, it would be 5 and 34/100. So let me line that up as much as I can. The 5 and, whenever we have a decimal point, that's where we say and. So if we're looking at a number like this, and you say 114, if you say that around me, I'm going to say no, 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 because the only time we ever say and is when there is a decimal point, like right here. So let's look at another one here. I'm going to say, we're going to start with our boxes, 2, and we're going to add that to 0.6. Now, when we get 0.6 or 6/10, once we add them together, we're going to get 2.6. Now, we're not going to say 2.6 because that's not what mathematicians say. We have to get out of the habit of saying 2.6. What we're going to say is it is 2 and 6, and what column is this? This is in the tenths column, so 2 and 6/10. If I were to write that, which I am going to, actually I'm going to type it, 2 and 6/10. And line that up with that and right there. Final one we're going to look at is I need my pencil here, 972.8. Now, I want to tell you that my goal is to stop saying like 972.8, things like that. But for this process, I want to say 972.8. So, because I want you to think about, and I want you to take some time right now to write this, to say it first. How would you say this? And then I want you to write it. Okay, so pause the video, say it and write it, and then start the video once you've written it to see how well you did. Hopefully you had a chance to say this number. Whoops, I just moved the entire thing. Let's not move the entire thing. Hopefully you had time to say this number, and what you said is 972 and 8/10. If we were to type this, or write it, hopefully you wrote 972 and 8/10. And if we were to line that up, we want to line the and symbol, the and the decimal point. So 972 and 8/10. And that's how we would write that one. And that's something that I want you to get used to, and I want you to be able to do, because as we go through this, and as we go through math and things like that, we want to be able to write it in numeral form, which is this, but also in word form. Now, one of those things is I'm not too concerned about spelling. But if you put 972, well, that's a completely different number. Because then you'd be 900 and there'd be a decimal point right here, 72 and 8. 8/10. That's not how we write numbers, and that's not how we say numbers. And we want to learn how to say numbers correctly. We want to be as close to mathematicians as we can be. Now, are we ever going to be mathematicians? No. But should we be able to discuss numbers and discuss mathematical processes like mathematicians and actually use actual words versus, oh, you do that thing and that stuff and then you plus them and then you minus them? No. We add, subtract, multiply, divide. But we want to sound like mathematicians, because if we sound like mathematicians, then hopefully we'll start thinking like mathematicians. And if we start thinking about mathematicians, then we're halfway there to actually being mathematicians. But that's the end of video 2. Stay tuned for video 3, which we start talking about mixed numbers.